Remember, it's always good to throw the punch where you can hit him and he can't hit you. That's what the science of boxing is all about. Perhaps you first became aware of the peekaboo style of boxing through the way Mike Tyson would dominate his opponents in the ring with both extravagant defense and devastating power. Or maybe you witnessed the effective use of the style in other great champions, such as Floyd Patterson or Jose Torres, who were all titans of their times and will live forever in the Boxing Hall of Fame, where they certainly deserve to be. Regardless of how you came in contact with the unorthodox and distinctive style of boxing, it can all be traced back to the mind of one brilliant man who dared to be different in almost every single facet of his life. He never accepted the status quo and always strived to innovate and invent newer, better ways to both protect his fighters and entertain his audiences. It's amazing to think about all the innovations and inventions that came from Cus D'amato. One might easily be surprised by the sheer amount of influence this one man has had in all the way all boxers are trained today. His fighters were his pride and boxing his passion, but his greatest gift of wisdom and kindness is most easily seen in his life's work, the peekaboo style and the system of boxing. Cus D'amato, losing the sight in one eye and being unable to become a professional boxer, may have had a profound impact on how he approached training his own boxers later in life. Though he described his childhood as a good one and his father a great man, he often would retell the brutal physical punishment his father would inflict on all his sons. He described these beatings as profound in his life and outlook as well, sometimes in a positive light and sometimes negative. Often Cus would refuse to say a word to his father and punish himself by prolonging these beatings, taking more hits than his father probably thought he deserved. He lovingly spoke of his father and often related these stories in a manner that was forgiving in the typicality of the time's fashion, but there's no doubt these moments, put together with his own experiences in the ring, that became a great basis of experience in his life in mind for the building blocks of what would become the peekaboo boxing system of fighting. I'm not a creator. What I do is discover and uncover. Cus first based this style on the way Slapsy Maxie Rosenblum would box. Maxie, after deciding that he no longer wanted to be pummeled in the face with punches, would stand in the middle of the ring with his hands up to protect his face as he would slip every punch his opponent threw. Though he was strong, he would relentlessly slap his opponents throughout the bouts and accumulated 207 wins in his career of 274 fights. Maxie is quoted as saying, "I didn't want to hurt anybody, just smack him around and let him know who's boss." And he certainly did, as he was the world light heavyweight champion from 1930 to 1934. He fought 106 times during his 4.5 years as champ, which averages out to be about one fight every 15 days, making him the busiest title holder in history. Maxie was a very technical and innovative fighter, but Cus also found him to be a boring fighter as well. So he modified the style to be more exciting by making the fighters more aggressive in moving forward and counterpunching their opponents. There were other fighters who fought with the high guards, similar to what would become the D'Amato stance, with great success, such as world middleweight champ Gene Fullmer, who twice defeated the great and then late Sugar Ray Robinson. In the wake of legends, both remembered and forgotten, Cus D'Amato was in Miami in 1961 for the third Patterson-Johansson fight, when he saw the former two-time lightweight champion, Bo Jack, shining shoes at the hotel. In what is now captured in this famous photo, Cus turned the tables on Bo Jack and insisted that he shine Bo Jack's shoes instead. Cus called Bo Jack the greatest lightweight ever, and you can see the influence of his style in peekaboo boxing as well. In a 1959 interview with Life magazine, Cus stated, "To stop fear, you got to be protected. Not part of the time, not most of the time, but all of the time. You can't gamble by using an open stance, because every time you gamble and lose, you get hurt. And when a fighter gets hurt, he's intimidated. He thinks he's tired, pooped. He covers up. Now, in my style, you cover up from the start. You never gamble. The right arm is always protecting the liver, the left, the solar plexus. The hands are protecting the chin. When you flick out with your left, the arm works like a piston. When you move like an owl. Then suddenly you're not being hit, and that means you're not getting hurt. And when you're not being hurt is when boxing becomes fun. As soon as it's fun for a fighter, nothing's going to stop him." D'Amato's style was likened to that of a turtle by critics in its defensive carefulness, but it was the likeness to cats that Cus said truly inspired him. "I would wake up sometimes and think about how a cat fights," he said. "I used to have a cat. That cat would claw at me, and I'd try to grab his paws, and he'd hit at me with 300 punches before you could grab him. His focus on slipping and the speed of the human eye led him and his brother Nick to develop the slip bag, a regular leather speed bag filled with sand that hung from a chain. Fighters were to dodge the bag as it swung." In newborns and infants, object permanence isn't developed until they reach 3 to 6 months of age. So the game of peekaboo that parents play with them, when one hides their face behind their hands, only to reveal to the infant that they in fact never went anywhere, is fascinating to them. Even though this name was not given to the style by Cus D'Amato, and in fact was dubbed that by the critics and detractors, the irony of the name in the history of boxing would not soon be forgotten. Cus's style is easily recognizable. If you see a boy whose hands are up, chin down, who makes slips and rolls, you say, "This is Cus D'Amato's style." The peekaboo stance. As Cus D'Amato taught, and always the most identifiable trait of the style, the glove should be held in front of your face with your fists at nose level. Your fists should be held side by side with your elbows pointing down. The gloves should cover most of your face up to eye level so that you can still peek out at your opponent. Holding this pose allows you to protect your nose and jaw whilst keeping your opponent in sight. You can also easily deflect hooks with this stance. With this closed stance, the possibility to strike through or under is not there, which can add a safety net of where you can expect your opponent to try and land punches. With your gloves in that position, it's also important to keep your elbows together to protect your body, particularly your ribs. If you see a body shot on the way, it's best to try to catch it with your arms without breaking the stance. Finally, most boxers stay in a crouched position when they're using the peekaboo stance. This keeps more of the torso covered. Crouching also allows you to tuck the chin and pull the shoulders forward for a tighter defense. Cus always told his fighters, always keep your chin tucked down into your chest. I don't care if you are running road work or you're just walking around school or watching TV, keep that chin tucked down and your eyes looking up and out. The elbows are relaxed and pressed to the body to protect the ribs. Using short punches and moving aggressively forward, this allows a very comfortable position to throw hooks from. The torso is also in a frontal stance, like the gloves on the face. This allows for a more square position and can help the fighter remain elusive, since the shoulders are equal distance apart, which aids in hiding any telegraphing a more bladed stance would give in throwing punches. The torso is also in a semi-crouch or crouch position and bent forward. This can help in slipping, ducking, and erupting with strikes to the opponent. The legs are in a classic stance, both knees bent, and the lead leg ahead of the rear. The rear heel remains approximately an inch off the floor or the ground at all times. It never goes down, it always stays up. The even force of mobile symmetry allows for a sturdy defense and balance offense in practice. Center of gravity is very important to this style of boxing and must be learned through drills, sparring experience so that balance can be learned. Everybody's body and center of gravity is different, so you must find the techniques that best fit your build as you acquire these skills, transferring the body center as you slip punches and deal them out. Well, my dad was a big Floyd Patterson fan, and whenever they would have fights on TV, he would watch them. I can remember little small TVs, black and white was about all they had back then. But he really liked Floyd, and he liked his manager, and I can remember him mentioning his manager, Cus D'amato, to me as a kid. And once I decided that I was going to turn professional, there was nobody but Cus D'amato that I wanted to train me. He had been successfully proven to be a good coach. He had had 2 world champions at that time, and I didn't want to put my boxing life into somebody that didn't have a lot of experience, who wanted to learn and make mistakes on me. I wanted somebody who had been there and done that, and I knew their goal would be to make me champion of the world. One of the first things Cus told me was that he was going to fix my problem with getting hit with left jabs. So as soon as I got up there, we immediately started working on the slip bag, and him showing me how to move from side to side and then down. And I worked a lot of rounds on the slip bag. And then we would get in the ring and do drills where punches were thrown at me, and I learned how to move my head. Basically, the slip bag is a great way to get you ready to get in there and do drills, because it teaches you how to move properly, left, right, and down. Well, I wanted to have a boxing gym that was a memory of Cus and the style that he taught. Not a whole lot of people know a whole lot about the style. I was very fortunate that I got to live with Cus for a year, and he would also have me from time to time, helping him train other fighters. So I got to show them the things to do while I was up there with him. And it's a great style, and I just want to see it carried on from him down through me, down through Nick, and just let it keep on being taught, because it is such a great boxing style. Anybody can learn the peekaboo style. Everybody can't be Sugar Ray Leonard or who's up there? Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. Everybody can't be Muhammad Ali, Roy Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, because they don't have that gift of speed and timing. But anybody can learn the peekaboo style of boxing with just normal talent. Thank you so much for listening to our introduction to Cus D'amato, the creator of peekaboo boxing, and also my trainer as a professional boxer. This series will try and cover the history and the style and give an in-depth analysis of the art in his system of boxing. Please support us on Patreon. There will be a link to our page below.